The first laugh came from the back of the garage, sharp and careless, followed by another, then a chorus. It echoed off the oil-stained walls and rattled the hanging tools. The boy didn't flinch, even though every laugh was aimed at him. He stood beside an old, dented engine mounted on a metal frame, his hands black with grease, his sleeves rolled too high for his thin arms. He was barely 16. His voice, when he spoke, was calm but trembling underneath. "Sir, this engine doesn't need petrol. It can run on water." That was when the laughter exploded, louder than before. Someone wiped tears from their eyes. Another shook his head like he had just heard the dumbest joke of the year. The boy mechanic lowered his gaze, but he didn't step back. "Not yet. Before we go any further, if stories about courage, innovation, and quiet strength inspire you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more powerful stories like this to life, and trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end of this one." The garage was called Malik Motors, a place where engines came to either be revived or officially declared dead. The men who worked there had decades of experience between them. They trusted fuel, fire, and friction. Water, to them, was an enemy of engines, not a source of power. The boy knew this. He had grown up hearing the same rules. But rules, he had learned, were often built around what people had already tried, not what they were afraid to imagine. His name was Ion. He had been coming to this garage since he was 10 years old, first sweeping floors for spare change, then fetching tools, then slowly learning how engines breathed and moved like living things. His father had worked here once too, until an accident crushed his leg and later his spirit. After that, Ion became the man of the house long before his voice deepened. School became a luxury. Curiosity became his teacher. At night, in their one-room home, Ion read old manuals, torn science books, anything he could find in scrap shops. He watched videos on borrowed phones, pausing, replaying, imagining improvements. One idea refused to leave him alone. What if water wasn't just a coolant or a problem, but a key? Not water alone, he knew, but what could be unlocked from it? The men in the garage didn't know any of this. To them, he was just a boy who talked too much and asked strange questions. When he had first mentioned the idea weeks ago, they had ignored him. Today, he had gone too far. He had built something. The engine on the stand was old, almost forgotten. Ion had asked permission to work on it during lunch breaks. No one cared. He modified parts quietly, using scrap materials, rerouting lines, adding a small, carefully sealed chamber of his own design. He wasn't claiming magic. He wasn't claiming miracles. But when he said, "water," he didn't explain further. He didn't know how to explain it in words they would accept. "So what's next?" One mechanic sneered. "You'll say it runs on air too." Ion swallowed. "I can show you." More laughter. Someone clapped sarcastically. "Start it then, genius." His hands shook as he reached for the switch. This moment had lived in his head for months, but now that it was real, fear crawled up his spine. What if it failed? What if he was wrong? Not just wrong, but foolish. He glanced at the doorway of the garage, half expecting to see his father standing there, telling him to stop dreaming. Instead, the doorway was empty. Ion flipped the switch. At first, nothing happened. The laughter grew again, louder, crueler. Someone turned away, already bored. Then there was a sound. Soft. A hum, uneven but real. The engine coughed, sputtered, and then, against every expectation in that room, it came. Alive. Not roaring, not screaming, but running. Steady. Controlled. Alive. The laughter died mid-breath. You could hear the engine clearly now, the rhythm filling the space where mockery had been seconds ago. One mechanic stepped closer, eyes narrowed, searching for a hidden fuel line. Another crouched to look underneath. Someone else checked the tank, expecting a trick. "There's no petrol," one of them muttered, confused. Ion's heart pounded so hard it hurt. "It separates molecules," he said quietly, finally finding his voice. "Not burning water. Using what's inside it." They barely heard him. Their world had tilted, and they were trying to understand why. That was when the garage went silent again, not from shock, but from respect. A tall man had stepped inside. Clean shoes. Sharp eyes. The owner. Mr. Malik didn't come to the garage often anymore. When he did, people noticed. Conversations stopped. Tools froze midair. He had built this place from nothing and had no patience for nonsense. He walked slowly toward the engine, listening, observing, saying nothing. "What's this?" he asked at last. No one answered immediately. Then one of the mechanics cleared his throat. "Sir, the boy says it runs on water." "Mr. Malik looked at Ion. Not with laughter. Not with doubt. Just focus. "Is that true?" Ion nodded, fear and hope colliding in his chest. "Yes, sir. I can explain." Mr. Malik raised a hand. "First, turn it off." When the engine stopped, the silence felt heavier than the noise ever had. Mr. Malik inspected the setup himself, tracing lines, opening panels, asking short, sharp questions. Ion answered each one honestly, sometimes stumbling, sometimes surprising even himself with clarity. Minutes passed. Then more. Finally, Mr. Malik straightened up. "I funded a project like this 20 years ago," he said slowly. "It failed. Not because the idea was wrong, but because the people working on it were afraid to look foolish." The mechanics exchanged uneasy glances. He turned back to Ion. "Where did you learn this?" Ion hesitated. "From everywhere I could, sir. And from failing many times." Mr. Malik nodded. "Good. Failure is expensive. It teaches value." He looked around the garage. You laughed at him. No one spoke. "You forgot something, Mr. Malik continued. "Every breakthrough sounds stupid before it works." He placed a hand on Ion's shoulder. The boy stiffened, then relaxed. "This doesn't mean he's finished, Mr. Malik said. "It means he's started." That day changed everything, but not all at once. Ion didn't become famous overnight. There were tests, arguments, breakdowns, setbacks. The engine failed again and again under pressure. Critics came. Experts doubted. Papers were rejected. Funding was uncertain. At times, Ion almost quit. Each time, he remembered the laughter, and the moment it stopped. Mr. Malik arranged for Ion to return to school, paid for by the garage. The mechanics who once mocked him now worked beside him, sometimes still skeptical, but listening. Slowly, respect replaced pride. Years later, a refined version of that engine powered generators in villages that had never known steady electricity. Clean water powered clean energy. Ion stood on a stage once, lights bright, applause loud, but his mind went back to a greasy garage and a switch he was afraid to flip. The message was simple, and it stayed with everyone who heard his story: don't laugh too quickly. Don't judge too easily. The next impossible idea might be standing right in front of you, with dirty hands and a shaking voice, just waiting for the courage to be tested. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps share stories that remind us. Innovation doesn't always come from the loudest voices, but often from the quiet ones who refuse to stop believing.